KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
We have my brother as a guest. He's running a little late. He wasn't too sure what time it was. So, he's coming right now. Yeah, if you want to, I think he's going through the front. Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Joe's on it.
Yes. Anywho, everybody, welcome back. Thank you guys for tuning in to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, the station that leaves no listener behind. Each week we do different topics, different guests, different hosts. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait.
Hold on. We got Joe, our board op, inside here. Last week he gave me the privilege to run the board by myself, and that was fun. We had Kyle up front.
Yep.
A1 since day one, baby.
A1.
But we are back in the studio. Today's topic is going to be self-reflecting.
Self-reflecting. Here we go.
I think it's very important for someone to self-reflect, on themselves, where they're at in life, why they think they're here, and just like their environment around them, and try to grow on that. Because if you don't reflect on yourself, if you don't think back and do all this stuff, in my eyes, you're pretty much a robot. You're just going day by day, doing what you're told or doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
right?
Agreed. Yeah.
There's no hey, there he is.
There he is.
Hey, JC's in the studio. Here, let's do some adjusting real quick.
I'll actually do a couple shout outs in the meantime. Shout out to snjradio.com. No negative news, no politics, just feel good music. And our man Secondhand Sam up in Second Chance Thrift Store on the corner of 2nd Street next to USA Subs.
Yeah, guys, go check them out. All their stuff is donated from, your local families and people around here. So
all donated.
Yeah, and if you guys want to donate, you guys can too. So if you guys got
Second Chance Thrift Store,
antiques, or if you guys just got stuff, passed down like hand-me-downs, just go over there, drop them off, tell them that Whatever Works, Sam Works, and Kyle Kerrigan sent you guys over.
Yes, sir.
So, what up, brother?
What's going on?
How's it going, guys? Sorry, I'm late.
No worries. So I told the listeners on the show that today is going to be a lot of self-reflecting, and I think that it's important to self-reflect, just to make sure you feel like you're at where you should be. So it's actually funny because on the show, or before the show, I didn't really have any content made for us, but I just started writing down my thoughts. Like, this is my own personal thing I was doing today,
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I was like, you know what? This would be good to do on the show. So I got kind of crazy. I just kept going. But I have a list of questions that I was asking myself today that I did not get to answer because I love sleep, but I kind of fell asleep as I was writing this stuff down. But today on the show, we're gonna break it down. There's 3 of us, so we should have 3 different answers, right?
3 different answers.
And see if we can
maybe.
inspire
I
ourselves.
hope you studied.
Right? Studying yourself is like one of the hardest things you can do. By the way,
It is mental health exercise.
Yeah,
Sometimes
very
I
beneficial.
feel like it could be harder than physical exercise.
Oh, definitely, especially because physical exercise, it's a movement.
Yeah.
The other one, it's kind of like trying to open a box with, you got to find the right key. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
trying to fit puzzles in the right pieces, and that's kind of hard to do if you don't really know yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And where do you start? What do you ask yourself? What are you trying to find out about yourself, and how do you go around that? Because, a lot of people, they have teachers, or they have things that are already, like, the hierarchy of, like, they already know what to do, they already know what to ask, they already know how to dissect. But as yourself, trying to dissect yourself, like, where do you start, right?
Right.
So this is no random order, but we're going to go from the last question I asked myself.
Okay.
We're going to work backwards.
Let's see it.
So anyone can answer. You hit the buzzer. Don't answer all at once. Don't be too crazy. And those who are listening, you guys can obviously think about the question, ask yourself these questions, and reflect on it, right? So that's what we're here for. So the first question of tonight that I'm asking you, gentlemen, is, do you see yourself as others see you? What do you think?
No.
No.
No. All right.
I would say almost never.
Almost never?
Yes.
Ooh, all right, let's
So-
go into detail. Go
So
ahead.
you think about it this way. So everyone's brought up differently, right?
Right.
And because everyone's brought up differently, I might see myself like this is the right thing to do. This is grade A what you need to be doing right now with your life, right?
Yeah.
But someone else who's brought up a different way is gonna be like, no, like you need to be doing this. Like for me, I was like, no college, right? But a lot of people, like especially in the school system in the United States, is like you have to go to college in order to get a good job. And I never saw it that way.
Right.
But you know,
Some
other
people
people
do.
are like, you have like, why don't you go to college? You have to. You have to further your education, and that's just not me. You know?
Okay.
So that's one perspective on it.
Yeah.
What about you, Kyle?
To kind of piggyback off that, I always felt like I was kind of misunderstood growing up. So, and that actually benefited me in a few ways. I didn't really see it that way until I was growing up. Before I kind of felt outcasted when I was little. But it benefits me in two ways, 'cause now I can see how people think of me, and I can twist that my own way. Whether it's making sales calls, whether it's making, small talk, going to parties, you could definitely take advantage on how people see you, because there's no surprises. So that's the way I think about it.
Okay. That's actually that's funny. So I'm going to jump onto JC's conversation. I'm going to jump onto yours. JC told me, actually the other day, where he was so, like, you actually know what I'm talking about. Go ahead, JC, explain.
Are you talking about how I was so confused how people can think differently than I did?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So when I was growing up, people would do things, and I was just like, "There's no way they think that's the right thing to do. Like, there's no way, absolutely not." Just because like the way we were brought up, me, Sam, and Liam, it was like so rigid. I guess you would
Right.
say. Like
Yeah.
you have to stay in your box, right?
Uh-huh.
Our box was large, right? There's a lot of stuff we were allowed to do, but if you exited that box, prepare for judgment.
Right.
Yeah.
So when people would do random stuff, I'm like, there's no way they can think like that. There's absolutely zero way. But as I matured, I was like, people didn't grow up like us. Like, that's just how the world works. And even now,
Yeah.
certain people do certain things, and I'm just like, I don't understand where they get that logic. But even though I don't understand it, sometimes I have to accept it anyway.
Yeah.
But
And I-
literally, that was only like when I turned like 19.
Yeah.
Like most of his life. Just- what a twist. And then Kyle, on your end, you said you're talking about you can kind of twist the way people think about you.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you go more in depth with that? Can you explain that a little more?
Well, let's say, for example, sales calls. You and I both do sales calls for KCAA.
Right.
If I were to talk to someone that I know the answer they're going to, or the conversation I'm going to bring up to them, I can throw a curveball and they can make them think differently.
Right.
For example, I've always been kind of like, growing up at least, I've always been kind of like robotic on how I say stuff.
Yeah.
So now I'll curveball it and I'll get in their face, and now I'll make them give me an answer, yes or no. And so that kind of works in my favor. Obviously, don't do it on purpose, but
Right. When needed.
basically when needed, So
Okay, so how do you guys see yourself compared to how others see you? And let me ask you, what do you think contributes to the difference in how you perceive yourself and how others see you? Because I didn't get to answer the first question, but I'm gonna answer this question first. Truthfully, I think people judge other people by their actions and not their intentions, right?
right,
And what contributes to the difference in how I perceive myself and how the world perceives me is in my head, because there's a lot more going on in my head than what's going on than my actions than my body's showing. And so it's like my intentions are good. Sometimes my actions are bad, right?
yeah. I mean, it's human nature, yeah.
Yeah, but like in my head though, it's like there's so much more going on that it's taken me a lifetime to figure out myself. So
Yeah.
for someone to actually see who I am, it's going to take them a lifetime, right? Because it's a constant growth, a constant change. Like you are not the same or you shouldn't be the same person you were 5 years ago, right? There should have been some maturity, some growth, even like destruction, you know what I mean? Like that's life right there in general, and that's what's going to change you. So with me, it's my own mental thinking, which contributes the difference. And going back to the first question, do you see yourself as others see you? I'm about to say no, because sometimes I have to explain to myself like who I am and who I am not to people. And if I have to do that, then obviously we don't see eye to eye,
Yeah.
right? So what about you guys? What do you think contributes you to the difference of the way people see you and how you see yourself?
I think it's conditional. Like,
Okay.
for example, I didn't realize that, yes, the answer for me is yes until recently. You know, because I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. Some people haven't forgiven me for some of the mistakes I've made. That's on them, you know, or that's on me too, but, you know.
Joe laughs on that one. That was a good one.
What?
Go ahead.
Yeah, there you go, Joe. But the way I think about it, the way I perceive myself was, you know, am I really the person that I am? I talk to my closest friends, and the way that I try to project myself to others, they're like, yeah, no, it is. You know, you're genuine. So, but it had to. That's something I couldn't figure out for myself. That's something other people had to show me. So,
Right.
that's why I think it's conditional, because, you know, I think at times you'd have to adjust. Like, you're never gonna be 100% buddy buddies with everybody.
Right.
You know, there's gonna be someone who doesn't like you. So
Yep.
it's just, for me, growing and understanding the fact that that's the case is a part of life.
Okay. What about you, JC? What contributes to the difference in how people perceive you and how you
So
see yourself?
it's almost the same thing. Like it's conditional, but for me, it's like conditioned. Right? So
Oh.
I
Okay,
conditioned myself to, because I have to, right? So when I'm at work, I'm yelling, I'm getting in people's faces because I have to, military, okay? When I'm at home, I condition myself to not do that. A, because I have kids and I don't want to bring that around them. And then Erica, my wife, I don't want to bring that around her. So
Yeah.
at home, Erica says I act really old. Like old.
you're an old
Right.
person, huh?
Like I just
You're
act
old
like I'm
soul.
older than I am. But at
Yeah.
work, everyone thinks I'm like 18, like running and gunning. Right? This is
Running
Yeah.
and gunning.
but I have to condition myself to turn the switch off and on. Right. So, but I would say my true self is definitely somewhere in the middle. Right.
Yeah.
But I haven't found a way to condition myself to go middle. It's either on or off. That's it. So that's the struggle right there.
You know what? I think what you just described, you're talking about, you know, switching on and off on who you are. The thing that I kind of saw, like the pattern in that is like your environment, right?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
it's on when you're in this environment, it's off in this environment, and you're like, well, how do I find the middle ground? You gotta find that middle environment, you know. And I think
Yeah.
that's when it comes to like meditation and like self-reflection, to really find yourself like that, you know, and find yourself that way. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I try to do that, but it's hard, man. It really is. There's actually this story of this monk. This guy went to go visit him, and he walks up to the door, and he just hears like super loud like rock music, right, at a monk's house. And he's like, what the heck? And he's like knocking on the door, and he walks in, and he sees this monk sitting there in the living room just meditating with super loud music on. And he asked him why. And it's literally, he's meditating on blocking out the noise, because no matter where you're at in the world, there'll always be noise and distractions.
Yeah.
So this monk is like meditating on how to block out the noise and stuff to really find himself and be within himself, you know?
Interesting.
He conditioned himself.
Yeah. Was I there today? No, because I came up with all these questions, but I didn't come up with any of the answers. And I'm like, you know, I went outside. I'm like, okay, I just took a shower. I'm meditating, right? But then like there's too much noise outside. So So all right, I'm gonna go inside, but obviously everyone's inside watching movies and stuff. So I go to my room. Then I go to my room and like every little thing, like whether the fan light's moving or like just the noise, I'm like I can't concentrate, you know?
Yeah.
And then I thought about it. I was okay, put headphones on, or like earplugs, right? Try to plug that noise out. Didn't work. So I was like, okay, I'll look up like meditating like sounds and music. But the thing is with that though, is like you ever heard of the law of attraction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the law of vibration?
I've heard of it.
Okay. So everything in life is constant movement, constant vibrating, and we're all based off like frequencies and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's why when you listen to music, if there's a certain type of vibration or frequency coming out, like you feel it, like you're rocking out, you know, because you guys are on the same vibration. That's the law of vibration. So with this meditating sounds, my body would try to tune into the frequency of the vibrations of the sounds of meditation music, right?
Yeah.
But that would put me in a mindset that is not neutral because of the
Right.
sounds of
'Cause
vibrations.
Your mind's traveling to it.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, well, what do I like? How do I find a neutral ground to where I'm balanced in life, where I'm not falling towards sadness, happiness, or like things like that? Because that's something that's hard to do when you're trying to reflect on yourself.
Yeah.
When you're angry, you know, and you're trying to reflect on yourself, but you're reflecting on yourself in a mad state.
Yeah.
And is that
it's
how
different.
how do you find the right answer? You know, so today was pretty tough on my end. I was really trying to answer myself questions, but you know, it is what it is.
You want to know what I found out?
Tell me.
How the Romans used to make laws is they used to do debates, sober and drunk.
Nice.
And if they came to the same conclusion, then that would become a law.
No kidding.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty good.
So, are they drunk first and then sober going over the laws, or?
I have no idea. I guess it really just depends on the vibe that day, or but
Because I feel like if there was a topic that came up, right, and you're sober, you go through the topic. Okay, so next time you're drunk and the same topic comes up, well, you already premeditated your thoughts when you're either or when you're sober or when you're drunk. It's already premeditated. You know what I mean?
yeah.
They
So-
should probably do it drunk first, because that's when
Forget
all the
about
bad
it.
ideas,
Blackout.
Well, that's when the bad ideas come out, and then when you're
Right.
sober, you're like, "Oh, that was a stupid idea. Take that one away."
Right.
You know?
Well, I mean, sometimes being drunk is not always being stupid. It's kind of like letting loose a little bit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because there are decisions that you would want to make when you're sober, but you just don't. So then you get
Yeah.
drunk, so you can make those decisions. You know?
Right.
So whether like good decisions, bad decisions, or like good intentions, bad intentions, I mean, I feel like there is a place for that. So I mean, hey, I think the Romans did something. They're onto something.
Yeah.
I mean, not anymore, but you know. Okay, so the next question I have, if you guys are just tuning in, by the way, it is 20 minutes after the hour. You guys are listening to Whatever Works. I got my co-host Kyle Carrion, and I got my brother, my big brother, JC Works here, and we're just talking about self-reflection and self-thought. So, hey, if you guys are missing out, you guys can always come back. But hey, stay tuned and listen in. So the next question I have for us is very simple. What gets you up in the morning?
My alarm.
That doesn't work for me. Well, JC, what gets you up in the morning?
All right, so normally, like right now, it's a little different because I'm not doing my job technically. But when I would wake up and go to the gym before work, I would sit up and I would do 30 deep inhales through my nose, 3 seconds, and then 5-second releases, and then I would bear crawl down the stairs just to wake up my body and like get my body moving. And then I'd go to the gym and then go to work.
Bro, I swear, if I saw that in the morning, if I see you bear crawling downstairs, dude, at like 6 a.m., I'm going to freak out.
5 a.m.
Or 5 a.m., yeah.
Yeah.
But, okay, but what gets you up in the morning? Not that physical attribute, but that mental thought, like, I'm waking up today because of why? Like, what's my purpose today? Like, what gets you going? What gets you moving in life? Dead air? Just kidding.
All right, no, I'll go first. definitely the show, KCAA.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
You know, I really love, talking to you, Sam, too. It's really a blessing.
It is, man.
And so, definitely coming up with topics, talking to people, networking, stuff like that. There's always work to be done. So
Always.
Always.
Always. And if there's not, well,
if
You're
there's not, then we don't have a show.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
And so going back to you, JC, what gets you up in the morning?
Well, I just don't like being stagnant. So I'll get up and I'm like, I gotta do something.
yeah.
Mm.
And what's that something? Working out before work, or even when I don't have courses, I still wake up early just to wake up early.
I
And
like
then
the
I'll-
discipline.
Then I'll
man.
just like eat breakfast or do whatever, just like clean up a little bit.
Mhm. See, that's something. Okay. Not that it triggered me or anything, but so I always fight for myself. I always fight myself trying to wake up in the morning, right? And there'll be like, let's say, a solid week where I'm waking up 6 a.m. Boom, 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 and then Saturday comes along, and I'm sleeping in, right? Tyler, he was like, bro, you're gonna ruin your momentum. Like once you sleep in, well, now you're gonna sleep in the next day, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
harder for you to wake up at 6 a.m. And I battled that today, and I lost. I battle it every day,
Yeah.
and it's a struggle. But I think what gets me up in the morning is like wasting days, right?
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been. It's been a while since I was like, I can waste a day. Like I can just sit here and do nothing if I wanted to. you know?
Right.
And there's like that saying, it's like if you enjoy wasting time, then it's not time being wasted, or something like that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like if you enjoy just laying in a hammock and just cloud looking, that's not really wasting time if you enjoy that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with me, oh man, I mean, we talked about it before on the show. It's like death doesn't have an age.
Yeah.
So it's like every day I got to make sure that when stuff pops off, like the world is ready. Like I'm not saying I'm ready, but I'm saying like I want to be prepared for when I do leave. People were taken care of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So wasting my days is not on my list. Does it happen? Yes. Is it a constant battle? Yes. Am I losing the battle? Yes. Am I winning the war? Yes. All right. So
Yeah.
losing the battle, winning the war. That's how we do it. We got 5 more minutes until we go on a 5-minute break. But we're gonna do, JC. I mean, you kind of already went into it, but what's your favorite morning routine? Like everyone has a morning routine, but what's your favorite morning routine?
So, well, I do like a whole routine before I get to the gym because like it's like 15 minutes from my house. So I'll do the breathes, I'll do the breaths, the bear crawl downstairs, and then I'll get all my stuff. I'll get in the car. I drive to the gym in silence.
Mm.
Then when I get out of my car, I scream at the top of my lungs right before I go to the gym.
Dang.
And then I do my workout.
He said, just in the parking lot. People are like, there's Mr. Works with this morning yell.
Literally, like, it all started because someone yelled at me one time. Like, there was a, just being weird. And I had the door open. I was like, hey! And I was like, wow, that felt great.
Felt good, huh?
Yeah, so now I do it.
Yeah, it's
before I
letting
go to the
loose.
gym.
Literally yesterday, I was showing JC songs that have like grunt sounds in them because
Yeah.
it gets me pumped, like or oh, like it gets me
Yeah.
going, like, and I
Yeah.
like that. So I'm glad to hear that you do that in the morning. What about you, Kyle? What's your favorite morning routine?
I always listen to music.
Always.
Always.
What kind of music? Because that's important.
It really depends
Mm.
because I listen to everything.
Okay.
So 30 minutes minimum is
Wow.
is my morning routine, and then I eat breakfast.
Hmm.
So or play with my dog. Every once in a while, I'll take my dog on a walk before I eat breakfast.
Mm.
It really just depends on how I'm feeling, but
Nice.
minimum 30 minutes to an hour listening to music, just going through the playlist, Yeah.
Interesting. Just kind of go with the flow throughout.
Go with the flow, yeah.
morning, huh? What I do, my favorite routine is wake up, eat, put on my socks and shoes, pee, get out of bed. No, I'm just kidding. Like, in that order. No, I'm just kidding. My favorite morning routine, what I love to do, if I could do it every day, is wake up early in the morning before sunrise. And it's kind of funny, I'm not really a coffee drinker, but for a perfect day, you wake up, you make some coffee.
Okay, yeah.
All right? And sorry for those people who don't like to hear me smoke, but in the morning, a coffee, maybe roll myself a blunt. And what I used to do at my mom's house, and I know she's probably listening, would go on top of her roof.
Yeah,
Okay? 'Cause
Really?
Yeah, going on top of her roof at like 6:50 in the morning, right before the sun rises over the mountains,
The
coffee,
Boswells.
blunt, and then like a night, like always music, like you said, you got to have a good song. And I remember specifically one morning I played Mr. Blue Skies. Mr.
okay.
Blue Skies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, that just kind of like sets the vibe, you know, for the
The
day.
whole day,
Yeah, it's very relaxing. Like you're waking up in the morning, you know, you're not really fully awake, but then like when that sun rises and you got your hot coffee and then you're chilled out because of the blunt and like you got the music to vibe with and it's just like fresh air, right? Like morning air is definitely different than
Yeah, for sure.
than day air. You know, like you can see all the pollution settled on the building before they rise. You know what I mean? And just like being on a high top view, like my mom's house, because it was just open land, and then behind her were like this huge mountain behind us.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And once that sun peaks, that's when I know, hey, the day has started. So when we come back, we're going to continue our questionnaires of reflecting on oneself. You guys are listening to Whatever Works on KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5. I'm Sam Works.
Kyle Kerrigan.
Josiah Works.
Josiah Works. And we'll be back in 5 minutes. Stay tuned. And
from the Bureau of Economic Geology, this is Earth Date. Lithium, the lightest metal, has transformed our rechargeable battery technology, but it can also be transformative in the human mind. Its powers were recognized by early cultures, from the Greeks to Native Americans, and for decades it has been used as a pharmaceutical drug. Lithium is highly reactive. It's one of the few metals that will easily burn. If you try to put it out with water, it reacts violently as it splits off hydrogen gas, which also burns. When lithium burns, it creates a crimson light, which you've seen whenever you've watched a fireworks show. Lithium makes their signature red color. Lithium is so reactive, it's typically stored in mineral oil. But when it enters the human body, often as a much less reactive lithium salt, its incendiary personality does a 180. In a process we don't completely understand, it seems to moderate the flow of electricity and promote the overall health of our nervous system. The result is a calming effect. This has led doctors to prescribe lithium as a successful treatment for bipolar disorder. Studies have even found that cities and towns with higher levels of lithium salts in their groundwater have markedly lower levels of depression, suicide, and violent crime. A very surprising fact, which has led some scientists to recommend that lithium be considered an essential nutrient. It may be time to take a closer look at this ancient remedy. I'm Scott Tinker, and thank you for listening.
Earth Date is produced by the Bureau of Economic Geology at the University of Texas at Austin. Earth Date is researched by Julie Hennings, written by Harry Lynch, and distributed by Mark Blunt and Casey Walker. For more stories, follow us on Facebook or visit earthdate.org.
We've all heard jokes that begin with a rabbi, a priest, and a minister walk into a bar. Well, a rabbi, a minister, and a deacon actually walk into the KCAA studios every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. to host the radio program Religion on the Line. And that's no joke. Together, they offer a mixture of humor and serious conversation about things that really matter in life and how to make our lives happier and more fulfilling. They compare religious doctrine and learn from each other while bringing a unique perspective of religion to the KCAA audience. Listen every Sunday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. for Religion on the Line. the intersection of humanity and divinity. Right here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listeners behind.
What is the Del Walmsley Radio Show?
Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins.
You need to stop being dependent on a paycheck. All of these self-help motivational people, they wind you up like a little clock. Click, 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 and then they'll let you go. Boom!
Who is the show about?
I'm your host, Del Walmsley, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom.
Learn the secrets of building wealth from Del Walmsley. Weekdays from 11 a.m. to noon, right here on KCAA.
Bob Vila here with my home improvement tip of the day. You've heard the old saying, measure twice, cut once. When it comes to do-it-yourself projects, there couldn't be a better motto. Here are some tips for sizing up jobs around the house. Don't use a 25-foot tape for measuring for a 6-inch cut. Better to use a smaller tape that's easier to manipulate. To transfer your measurements to the surface of the material you're cutting, first press on the edge of the tape and roll it until the edge makes contact with the material. Then put the point of your pencil at the measurement and flick it up and to the right, and then to the left. That'll give you a mark that's very visible, yet small enough at the point to maintain accuracy. Also, keep a clear perspective on how accurate your measurements really need to be. For example, if you're cutting drywall, a 1/4-inch gap isn't going to make a big difference. You can always cover it with tape and mud. Not so with wood trim, even though a little caulk goes a long way. And with clear finish woodwork, you'll need to be more precise. Get more info at bobvila.com and right here at home with me, Bob Vila.
And we are back, everybody, from our 5-minute break. I hope you guys are still with us. If you guys are not, you guys are listening to Whatever Works. I'm Sam Works.
Kyle Kerrigan.
Josiah Works.
Josiah Works. And you guys are listening, again, to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM. The stations that leave no listener behind. I'm super stoked. I got my brother here in the studio. I got Joe board hopping again. I got Kyle being my co-host, like how he always is. Before we went on break, we're talking, we're kind of like self-reflecting in our lives. And some of the questions that we answered to ourselves was like, you know, do you see yourself as others see you? And I think we all agreed. We said no. What do you think contributes to the difference in how we perceive yourself and how others see you? And that we got into pretty good detail in there. But if you guys want to go back and listen to it, you guys can go on Spotify, look up KCA Whatever Works, our social media websites, you know, Facebook, Instagram. We're gonna be clipping little segments of this video, so we'll have some good content. My boys in the building, what's going on, Ferran? Hey, if you guys are still driving around at 8 o'clock, just stay tuned, man. You don't have to move the dial or anything. We got a good show at 8 o'clock. But yeah, so we're going to go back into what we're discussing about self-reflection and all that good stuff and all the questions that I was going to ask myself. But you know what? I thought it would be good if I asked the Whatever Works team here that's doing the show. Let me see here. We're actually working backwards. When I was reflecting on the questions today, I kind of liked where I ended and not really where I started. So we're working backwards here.
Interesting.
That was reflection upon itself right there.
Dang, look at that. Woo.
We're getting somewhere.
Speaking of reflection, the next question is, how often do you reflect on your life?
Every day.
Really?
Every day.
Okay.
Every day. Every single day.
Every
Multiple
day.
times a day.
But how deep is the reflection?
Ooh.
It depends on what I think about.
Okay.
You know?
Well, on average.
On average, 3 to 5 times a day.
Same like category, same topic of in your life, or what do you reflect on?
You know, it really just depends. If it was severe, typically I'll meditate on it for a while. You know, my actions, what I could have done better, you know, stuff like that. But that's also really conditional. Because you could be going on your life and then something random will go off and remind you of something. Now you're thinking about that. And I know it happens to you guys multiple times a day, but you don't think about it.
Yeah.
You know, it could be attached to a song. It could be attached to seeing someone. It could be attached to being at a place, you know, just reflecting. You know, every time I drive by your guys' house, I think all those memories that come up.
Right.
you know, and stuff like that. So, you know, I think for the most part it's conditional, but you know, there's some things that, you know, in life, like I don't really regret anything, but there are some things that I wish I could have done better.
Are there things that you wish you could have done that you didn't do?
Always. At least growing up, there's a lot of opportunities that I feel like I missed.
Yeah. Yep. And I talked about this on the show before. This senior housing place, it was like a documentary, and they interviewed all these seniors, and they asked, like, what is one thing that you regret? And for the most part, the moral of the story is they regretted things that they didn't do. They didn't regret things that they did do, you know. And I feel like that's where we all gotta, you know, bite the bullet, cough up the shell, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to miss out on life because you just didn't do it.
Yeah.
So, and what about you, JC? How often do you reflect on your life?
I guess like wave top level, so like very like non-impactful probably every day, but like in terms of like reflecting where I'm like I'm going to make a decision that changes the course, maybe like once a year. Maybe less.
Right. I mean, you're on a good course, so why would you want to, like, you know, drastically change it, right?
Yeah, so like when I was about to go recruiting, right, and that would have locked me in for another 3 years, sent me somewhere probably out of state where I would have been working horrible hours. But after that, I would have got promoted. I would have got promoted for sure during it, and every promotion after that comes easier, right? And I had the package filled out, and I was about to turn it in, and I reflected on it. I was like, do I really want to volunteer for something that's going to take me away from my kids for 3 years, basically take me away? And I was like, no. Then I got forced to do it, or a letter came out saying I was forced to do it. So then I reflect again, and it's like, do I accept it or I deny it? And then depending on the decision I make, either I stay in or I get out. Because if I deny it, I have to get out. If I accept it, I basically do what I didn't want to do, but I get to stay in.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a lot of reflecting right there, brother.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you already know this, but, you know, babies and, like, kids, they grow up fast, and especially, like, their first 5 years of life, that's the most important.
Yeah.
You know? And, like, it's nice to hear that you're precious on time, especially with your kids, because that's pretty important.
Just to kind of reflect off what JC said, my dad was in a similar tribulation when before I was growing up, because all my siblings are at least 20 years older than me. Fun fact. And so like my next closest sibling was like just after her 18th birthday, I was born. That's my next closest sibling. And so my dad was a workaholic. He'd always work, and he said, I turned to my dad like a couple of years ago. I'm like, what is one thing you regret? And he said that, well, I worked a lot, and I wish I could have spent time with you kids more. And so, you know, he has really good pension now. He's disabled, so he gets disability. But and you know, he gets paid very well because, you know, he made a lot of money. But he says that you know, it almost wasn't worth it. You know, he wishes he would have grown up with two of my oldest siblings, you know, more, and spent more time with them.
Yeah, I think that's pretty huge, because that's something that my dad said to us as well. We are getting a caller, so we'll plug him in and let's see who it is. Hey, happy Sunday.
We got a door.
Yeah, you're listening to KCAA, whatever works.
What's going on?
What's good, gentlemen?
How you doing? You got a question, comment, or concern?
I got a comment for the last gentleman that spoke about his father and what his father said about it, spending time.
Okay.
Yeah, what's going on? That was me.
Yeah, so that conversation is legit, because depending on how we were raised as children, most of us feel like we got to work, right, to provide. But we don't realize that child really wants our time.
Yeah.
Right? And so sometimes being too driven in being a provider, it doesn't allow you to spend that time. So I appreciate him saying that, because I think most of us fathers deal with some version of that,
Yeah.
right? And so that's why we feel we got to work and we got to work and work and work. But when really that child just really at its core wants our time. So I appreciate him saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to go a little bit deeper too, when I was 5 years old, my dad got disabled. So he was most of my life he was in the hospital, in and out. And I think that talking to my older brothers, the ones that never really got to see my dad when he got disabled, didn't really want to take care of him. They loved him, but it was almost like I feel like there was karma in that absence, but you know, and I really don't feel like that should be a factor, but I think it was. And talking to my oldest brother, you know, he started his family, and I think if my dad was there for them, he says that he may have, you know, thought about it more when my dad got disabled to take care of him.
Right.
So
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, only because sometimes as children, we don't understand what it is to be an adult.
right.
So we have a perception of our parents, our father, right? We want him there. We want him there. And then when he's not there, there's a level of disappointment that happens. There's a level of upset. And
Right.
then that starts to rewrite our script of how much we love our father to now, well, he's not around no more. So I got to kind of disconnect from him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And those are just natural kind of things that happen to us. It's like a human being flaw. It's like
Yeah.
that's what we do to survive those moments. And then we live from those adaptive moments. So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that well, thank you for calling. I think when it comes to kids, the difference between kids and adults, I find that kids at one point didn't know, but they kind of were living in happiness.
Right.
Right. And as like adults now, as the caller was saying, like provide, and it's like the kids don't really need that, like all the materialistic stuff that you're bringing to the table, but just the joy and happiness, right? And I feel like as adults we kind of drift away from that, and kids, they're living that, you know. And I think
Right.
that's kind of where the battle is between like father and son, you know.
I think the biggest thing is kids only think in black and white. You know, I think studies show that children don't really think analytically until they're about 11. So they're gonna believe what they see. You know, they're not really gonna think about it. And ultimately, you know, growing up, you know, that's some of the things that my older brothers regret. You know, and that's their battles. And so, you know, there's no bad blood between any of my family. You know, we all love each other, but, you know, there's always going to be something that you wish you could have done. But at the same time, do we regret it? Do we wish it could have been differently? Would have been worse if it was different? So I think that's a lot of, and I'm sure you have some things to say about that. You know, you having kids, JC, but you know, that's ultimately the best advice my dad could give me, without having children, is just, you know, kind of figure it out for yourself. There's some things that are going to kind of come to you when you start a family. So, and you know, he's been divorced twice. He has, you know, multiple kids. So that's something I take a bump on. So
He's well experienced.
Yeah.
He's well informed. Moving on from that, there's 3 questions that I asked myself today, and I think they're pretty, well, actually 4. They're pretty strong. I'll tell you all 4, and then we'll just break it down one by one. But the question I asked myself is, am I content with myself? And the short answer is no.
No.
Am I exhausted of what I am doing? You know, because
that's a good one.
That's
hard.
Yeah, we'll go into detail on that one. And is time an issue for me? And yes, time is a huge issue for me, and the biggest thing that I'm battling.
Mm-hmm.
And I never got to really reflect on that, so that's why we are on the show. We got about 7 minutes, so we just got to bang, 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 bang them out. So with you guys, are you guys content with yourselves?
No.
No.
I think short answer, I think all of us will agree on. If you're content with yourself, you'll no longer grow because you won't want to achieve anything else.
Absolutely.
I like that. There's a saying, and it says, "Be proud but never satisfied."
Yeah.
Right. Are you exhausted of what you are doing? So whatever you're doing right now in life, like that constant everyday thing, are you exhausted of that?
I think that's conditional too. I think there's some things that I need to let go.
Yeah.
I think there's some things that are holding me down. So,
Okay.
that do make us exhausted when we're not really thinking about it. You know, and then there's other things that we need to. You know, some plants you gotta water more, and
Right.
so that's something I'm struggling with.
You know what? I would put that in my bio on Instagram if I was able to edit my profile. some plants you just gotta water more. I like that.
It's pretty good.
What about you, JC? Are you exhausted of what you are doing?
The nature of my job, no. But there's some times where I feel like that. But thanks to the nature of my job, usually the moment I feel like that,
Something different. Huh?
something else changes and I can take something else. So
Okay. And is time an issue for you?
always.
Always. Solid. Moving on. Yes. The biggest thing that you're battling. I want to know. I know my answer.
The biggest thing that I am battling is trying to negotiate time with spending time with my father who doesn't have enough time left and living my own life.
Mm-hmm.
Just balancing those two because they don't go hand in hand.
No, they don't.
So just spending as much time with my father as I can when I can because someday, you know, he might actually die tomorrow. He might die today because of what he has. So it's just spending as much time with him as possible, but at the same time trying to flourish as an adult and, you know, grow up.
Live your life and be
the
you.
hardest thing.
Yeah. What about you, JC?
Honestly, like it kind of my battles all tie back to what we were saying earlier. It's like it all started when I came back from my second deployment, right? So I came back from my second deployment, and the first thing that happened when I saw my family was Amelia like ran up to me and gave me like a big hug. There's like a picture of it. It's like a really nice picture and stuff. But I remember that moment all the time. I'm like, do I really want to go on another deployment? Like deployments are fun, right? You get paid more on deployment, but is it worth not seeing your kid for 6 months?
Right.
And that's the same thing, like managing time, managing your family life. And then on top of that, like whoever says having kids is easy, they're lying to you. Right?
I never heard anyone say having kids was easy.
Well, I mean, I heard people, it's easy. Like millions of people do it.
You're not a good parent.
That's correct. Millions of people have done it. Millions of people will do it after you, but it's extremely strenuous on your ability to control your emotions towards them, right? And then on top of that, your significant other may not have controlled their emotions, so now you have to juggle, theirs, right? So it's always a battle between time with family, time with work, because I know if I take this recruiting job, I'm secured for sure. Like my family's secured, 20 years, no problem. In the military, I'll get out with the pension.
Yeah.
But that's basically a 3-year deployment.
Right.
And then I still have to deploy after that. So it's like I understand the benefits. Erica somewhat understands the benefits. My kids don't understand the benefits. They're 3 and 1. They don't know what the heck's going on. They just be like, "Oh, you're gone? Okay."
Yeah, they don't see the value.
They don't see the value in it. And like Kyle said, maybe they won't until they're 11. But by that point, all the damage is done. 3 years. Well, 3 years. Tech kind of deployed. Like I won't be home a lot. Plus 2 deployments before that. Plus deployments after that. So it's like, that's the struggle. And I think that's the struggle for every parent, not just me. That's why I feel comfortable with it. I feel comfortable with the struggle. I'm not the only one doing it. So I have other people to look for.
You're not
look
by
to.
yourself. Yeah.
Well, I feel like you being in the struggle just shows that you're a good parent.
Yeah.
You know, so being my dad taught me another thing. Never be content with life, and never be comfortable. And if you are both those things or one or the other, you're not gonna get anywhere.
Yeah.
And so, just hearing that people are struggling, and people will freak out. I know, like some of my friends in high school have kids, they freak out. They go on, like a mental breakdown. And I'm just like, that's good. That means you care. Like
you have to have some sort of reaction to it. Yeah.
So like the more you think about how you're going to be a bad parent, the better you are, because then you're more careful.
I mean, thinking like that is a good one, but I would say think about how you can be a good parent, not think about how you can be a bad parent.
No, right, yeah,
You know what I
no,
mean?
that's not what I meant, but
Yeah.
What not to do.
Yeah.
Right. So we got about 1 minute left. We're actually going to close it up. I'm excited because we had so many more questions and so many more topics we could have went through.
Maybe it was a part 2.
Might be a part 2. All
Might
right,
be
you
a part
guys.
2.
Happy Sunday. Enjoy your guys' self. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy your family and friends. Enjoy yourself, most importantly. And you're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA.
Whatever
I'm
Works.
Sam Works.
Kyle Kerrigan.
Just how it works.
And we are out of here. We'll be here next week at same time, 7 p.m. till 8
7
p.m.
p.m.
Hey, guys, stay
Don't
tuned
miss
for
it.
the next show, all right?
Stay tuned.
Happy Sunday.
Whatever works.
See 1050 AM, Southern California. NBCRadioNews.com.